just being homeless and going through that time and those trials and tribulations was definitely a hardship. They don't know my struggles. They don't know that I'm being abused at home or that I'm dealing with this sort of depression and I'm having these thoughts. By the age of 21, I'm going to be dead.
The following podcast is a Frederick Films production, sponsored by the American Licorice Company.
Hey everybody, I want to welcome you guys back. Today I have a special guest, one that's defied all the odds, overcome adversities throughout his entire life, and has managed to make himself into something that nobody thought he would be. The world that we live in, we judge people, we profile people, we assume the worst out of people, but we never know exactly what they're going through. Today, hopefully, my guest here can shine some light on it. I want to introduce you guys to Vaughan Nelson. How we doing today, bro?
Man, we chilling, man. I'm glad to be here.
Hey, I'm happy you came, man. I know you got a busy schedule, and I appreciate you making some time for it, man.
Always, man.
So catch us up. Tell us who you are. Who are you?
Man, I feel like my name is Vaughan. I'm a young black man. I'm a person who has dealt with like a lot of adversity, who's persevered through many obstacles. I'm a hardworking man. I'm one who loves people. Some people may find me as goofy. I look goofy, but and I just love people. Like I just love people, and I treat people like how they need to be treated.
Right. So you say that you've gone through some adversities.
Mm-hmm.
What's one that sticks out the most to you?
I believe like in high school, it was a time in my life. I have a big family, so 3 brothers, 2 sisters, and we just had a big household. My dad was alcoholic, and at that time in my life, like my dad was no longer in my life, and so my mom had to remarry another guy, and he was cool guy, but he dealt with a lot of controlling issues, and so just living with him, it was nothing but like in a controlling environment, and so my junior year of high school, I was eventually homeless because we just kept getting into arguments. We weren't seeing eye to eye, and my mom had to either make a choice, either like stay with this man who's like providing the bills and providing stuff for her, or I go and work 3 jobs to support my kids. And so she took the route of staying with the man, and I couldn't be a part of that. And so ended up getting kicked out, living with my real dad in Tacoma. And so just being homeless and going through that time and those trials and tribulations, which I'll talk more about, was definitely a hardship.
So I was in high school so long ago. How old are you in 11th grade, junior year? 17,
16 years old. You're still a young teenager, you know,
Right.
Like you shouldn't be living on your own or couch surfing or not knowing what you're going to eat the next day. Like you should be playing video games or doing homework and not worrying about where you're going to sleep the next night.
Being in that space at 16 and 17 years old and being homeless and not knowing where your next meal came from. I don't want to put words in your mouth. Is that?
Yeah, totally.
Do you feel that made you grow up like a lot quicker?
It did. It made me grow into a man and maybe, learn how to save money, even though I didn't have too much money. It made me become more grateful for the opportunities, like people would buy me lunch, and it was so great that people saw that, but it was just like, man, like, would you be doing that if I wasn't homeless? Like, are you really like seeing me, or is it just like so you can like give yourself like a high five or a pat on the back, if that makes sense?
Right. So homeless at 16 or 17, you were in high school. What was the motivation to have you continue? Why didn't you just drop out?
I thought about that many times. Like, just like, man, like I'm just so sick of school. And I was getting bullied at school too. Went to Ballard High School. And because of the color of my skin, like people would profile me thinking that, oh, like you're an athlete, you should play sports. Or I don't see you, necessarily graduating. And I was told that a lot, even though I was homeless, right? And commuting from Tacoma to Seattle every day is a 2-hour bus ride. And so it was just hard. It was just so hard.
Time out. What time does school start in the morning?
School starts at that time, started at 7:40.
7:40. And you said it's a 2-hour commute.
Yeah.
So what time did your day start?
They started at 4 a.m.
Every day?
Every day. had to catch the first bus that left from TCC, which is a place in Tacoma, to downtown Tacoma. Then I would either take a train or take the bus. And there's traffic usually on the freeway, so the bus would take like a 2-hour ride to get there. And then from downtown Seattle, I would take a bus from downtown Seattle to Ballard High School. So I did that every day for 2 years.
Why? All the high schools in between those two cities. Why Ballard?
I was going to get held back in Tacoma if I were to transfer schools. And since like I didn't want to do a third year of high school, like I was going to just finish out the 2 years because of credit issues. Yeah.
And you played sports, right?
Ran track.
But so after a track meets will get done at 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yep.
Then what?
And sometimes I would miss the last bus and would have to walk home. And that would be like a 45 to an hour minute walk.
So one thing that I do remember about you is you never, ever complained. Why? Like, I feel like at 16 and 17 years old, at least for me, man, I would have tried to complain to anybody who wanted to hear it. Why did you never complain?
I felt like nobody was listening. And if I were to complain, like it's just, just feeding in negative. And I wasn't really a negative person. Like even in the worst outcomes, I would try to make the worst outcomes into a positive situation or a positive motive. And so I always just told myself like it will get better. Like right now it's such a hard time. Like it's hard. Yes, it's hard, but like things will get better.
Right.
And I just kept reminding myself to do that and just keep thinking those thoughts. Like this is not a forever thing. It's only in the moment.
Wow. And you meet a ton of people that go through stuff. Yeah. And you never like really understand or know their why. So for you to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and get on the first bus to come 2 hours north to go to a school on where you've been bullied, been profiled, been told that you're not going to graduate. What was the why? Like, why did you continue to put yourself in that situation? And not only put yourself in that situation, how did you manage to overcome that situation?
Well, I had a great track coach named Norris Frederick. And like during the workouts that we used to do, like you would tell us like, don't give up, like you could push through it. And you have so much like potential that you don't realize it until like you actually are like pushing yourself to do it. And so I didn't realize that I could get up at 4 a.m. to go catch 4 buses to go to a school that I didn't like or I wasn't comfortable at. I felt like I didn't have to prove anything to anybody, but I just knew that if I overcame this adversary and like persevered through it, a much greater reward would come. And like when I did workouts with you, like the reward was like I got to be fit. I got to, run a time that I didn't think I was gonna run. I got to run in college. Like I never thought I was gonna travel to go to nationals and stuff like that. Like, and so during the hard work and like the hard times, like it's just like, man, like it's hard in that moment, but like there's a greater reward beyond that.
And I appreciate you saying that, number one. Number two, I know when a ton of people have success, family has a weird way of coming back into the picture. Did that happen to you?
No, not necessarily. Like, no. Like my oldest brother, like he was very supportive and like encouraged me a lot, but like your parents like should have been doing that, and they really weren't. My dad alcoholic and my mom working 2 jobs, and she's raising my little brother and keeping tabs on him. And so I was never the type of guy to like go party and drink, stuff like that, smoke. I was always at the library doing homework. My oldest brother would call me a geek nerd. And so like I was taking like AP classes and honors classes and stuff like that too. And so I was just so much in my studies that I just didn't do what normal, I guess, high schoolers do.
Right. And weirdly enough, there's nothing wrong with that, man. As weird as it may sound and feel at that time, there's nothing wrong with that because I was the same way.
Yeah.
What's the relationship with your parents like now?
Mom's on good terms. She's still with the man. I don't call him my stepdad, but she's still with her husband. And like I wasn't invited to the wedding and stuff like that, but we are still working on a relationship. My dad, we don't have really a relationship at all, but like seeing my dad be the man that he is to us makes me want to do the complete opposite from when I'm a father. or when I'm a man to a woman. But yeah, so the relationship is with my mom is getting better. And there's still challenges and stuff like that with that, but with my dad, there's not really a relationship.
Weird question, but honest question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you often feel like alone and you have nobody to talk to, or no one to look like that looks after you or ask if you're okay or anything like that?
Well, like, so after graduating high school, I participated in a youth program called YFC, and it was a program where like a lot of students or kids on Casino Road would go and just like hang out and just chill. And so I would find myself there and just hanging out with the kids and just being with them. And one thing I learned is like just being with people goes so far along.
Mm-hmm.
And so like even now, like I don't feel that aloneness because I've basked in solitude and just like learning how like because I'm an extrovert, and so like I learned how to be an introvert, like reading books and just chilling out and just resting. And so sometimes, not all the time, but like feeling alone, I wouldn't necessarily say I felt alone.
Good.
Yeah.
So you working with kids on Casino Road, and for those who don't know what Casino Road is, could you?
Yeah. So Casino Road is labeled as a ghetto like community, right? Like a lot of people like talk about Casino Road as being this bad place. Like you shouldn't walk there. You shouldn't shop around, around the stores there. But I would say Casino Road is like a home, like so integrating. There's a lot of Hispanic and Latinos who live in that community, mostly immigrants, and like the way that as a black man that I walked in there, they made me feel like I was at home and I felt comfortable and like right there with them. And like I said earlier, like just being with them, like and sitting with them and just hearing their stories and just having conversations with them or just finding out like little things like what type of candy they like or video games they play, like that goes a long way.
Right. What were some of those kids like? What were they dealing with?
Mm-hmm. A lot of them dealing with like gang violence, single parent homes, immigration, big one. A lot of them dealing with like depression and suicidal thoughts. Just a lot of mental illness. Feeling like they're not worthy. Yeah, and it's like they felt so like helpless and like hopeless, and they just needed like guidance. They just needed somebody to just be there for them.
So you said you were a part of a youth group. So these people are under the age of 18, 19?
Mm-hmm. So they range from the age 6th grade to high school. So 6th grade to 12th grade. So they're 12 years old to about 18 years old.
So these are kids that are dealing with mental illness,
Mm-hmm.
possibly addiction,
Mm-hmm.
right? Suicidal thoughts and behaviors,
Yeah.
addiction,
Mm-hmm. Abuse.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So with the backstory you just told us and opened up about, how is it that you were able to manage carrying your weight of the things that you had going on in your life, and then however many kids that you had to touch every single day?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how did you manage to compartmentalize your issues versus their issues, or did their issues kind of help you cope with your issues?
Yeah. And so even though we looked similar, like even though we looked different, we were so similar, like going through like circumstances, all that. And so it was just easy for me to just connect with them and to like, hey, like I know this is hard, but it gets better. And I'm a living testimony of that.
Right. I think it's interesting because so often we never really understand what someone's going through.
Yeah.
So, we see these young individuals, male, female, whatever. They have a tougher exterior. They got a tough look to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've had to survive on the streets. And one thing that I've noticed is it's tough to look past what they look like to see the person that they are.
Yeah.
Let's jump into that. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. Just to kind of catch you up. Actually, we're not going to catch you up. We're going to dive back into it.
There we go.
So it's tough because perception it really does something to someone.
Mhm.
It's so easy to judge somebody off of how they look
Yeah.
and know nothing about them.
Yeah.
Historically, black and brown, when it comes to gangs, don't really mesh.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you feel so accepted with these Latinos and Mexican individuals that were gang affiliated, knowing that there's historic beef between the two?
Yeah. A lot of it is like language barriers too. So like a lot of them spoke Spanish, and so like you wanting to know their culture and their language, that's like easy. Like just like you want to know about me. Like why would you want to know Spanish? Like are you trying to like what are you plotting? But it's like no, like I want to know like what you're about. So like tell me, and then they would play like jokes and little pranks on you, and it's funny. But like it's a way for them to, one, be a kid, and two, like they get to be the teacher. And like here's this guy who's supposed to be teaching us, like, and we get to teach him. Like we don't usually get that because we have so many, people trying to tell us like what we can and cannot do, telling us how to live our lives when they don't even know me. They don't know my struggles. They don't know that I'm being abused at home or that I'm dealing with this sort of depression and I'm having these thoughts. And so to have somebody, being black and coming in and just like filling that gap and just like I said earlier, like being there with them, definitely like shredded those barriers.
Right. Man, so working in that environment, what was one of the craziest things that you came up against?
A crazy experience I would have would be like, kids getting jumped and like hearing about like a kid getting shot. And like this is your kid that you poured in so much into.
So he did the shooting, or he got shot
he
himself?
got shot himself. And
Okay.
so I won't say his name, but a student living there was shot and is now paralyzed from the waist down.
Whoa.
And so like having to, pick him up in a van and like having to carry him because physically he cannot stand up, put him in the van so that way he can come to the youth program, come hang out, chill, whatever.
Was he affiliated?
He was. But at the time, like he was just like getting out, getting his life together, trying to like stay away from that, environment. But
we want to know the details. Was it a rival? Or
it was a rival, yeah,
Okay.
rival gang. And he's just being there at the wrong place, wrong time, and they got him. So he's paralyzed from the waist down, and so like now he's no longer able to walk, and he lives on top floor stairs. So bringing him down in a wheelchair. Because the apartment complex doesn't have like elevators.
Right.
They only have stairs. And so
how does he do it himself if you guys aren't around?
he has family that helps him out.
Okay.
But like typically he just stays in his room and just plays video games all day because he literally cannot go downstairs. He can't go outside. And just having the fear that, he didn't die and like they didn't, finish the job. So he's afraid for his life. And so
Still. Wow.
And that was years ago.
And still to this day, he's living in that same fear.
Same fear, same circumstances, and and it's important that you just check in on people, like you see what they need because they can just be hipped up and just be in that same spot and like feeling just so trapped and so lost. Like he's just at home all the time.
Did he ever have a conversation to you or with you about it all being worth it?
Yes, and I feel like the moment that he got shot, it wasn't worth it. Like he knew at that point it was not worth it. Like repping this whatever, like this is not worth it because those same homies, they don't have my back. They're not coming here to, sit with me while I'm trying to get surgery or sitting with me while I'm trying to learn how to walk. They're out doing their own thing. Like they're still repping whatever. And like I could have almost died because I'm repping this, community that is supposed to be family, is supposed to die for me and with me, but yet my homies is not running with me. And so in the end, like he says it's not worth it at all.
Right.
And like having to hear that, it's just like, man, like my heart soul like goes out to you because it isn't worth it. It isn't worth that you have to sit in a wheelchair for the rest of your life while everybody else gets to walk. It's not worth it.
Wow. Man, you've been dealing with some heavy stuff, man. And it seems like you got a great attitude about it. And it seems like you love what it is that you were doing. I know for me personally, when I pour myself in to someone, I have a hard time detaching myself.
Yeah.
So how is it that you were able to work with these kids and not get attached to the point where their problems became your problems?
Oh, like I was in the hospital with them. Like it's hard. It's hard to detach like yourself from another human individual that you so love and care for, and you put all your time and energy into being with. It's hard to really detach yourself from that. And so when they feel something hard, like you feel with them.
Were you angry for them?
I was very, very angry for him, like because he didn't deserve that. Nobody ever deserves that. Nobody deserves to be in a wheelchair for the rest of their life over
Right.
some, gang stuff.
Was his family in the hospital with you?
Yeah,
Okay.
siblings, little brothers and
Everybody.
sisters. Yeah.
When he woke up and came to,
Mhm.
was he like struck that you were there, or did he?
He couldn't believe it. Like, why is this guy like here despite like what had happened to me and like what I was affiliated with? Why is he here? And I feel like, you never know what people go through and you don't know where individuals at, but they just, he was just in shock, and it's just like, man, like when I say I love you, like I mean that, and that means me being there for you wherever it may be. Like it may like I don't like seeing you like this, but like it is what it is, and so I have to be here for you in that, and it's hard. It gets me emotional like even thinking about it.
I could see, I could see how much of a challenge that could pose, and the simple fact that as young as you are, and everything that you've had to go through, that you're still here, like standing strong.
Mm-hmm.
And not only are you fighting your own battles, but you're fighting battles for other people.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about what happens on Aurora and what
Yeah.
you were a part of on that?
Yeah. So I was with the group, and we just like felt like there's a need with the prostitutes on Aurora. There's a need that nobody's really like talked about. It's just, people say like, oh, like this needs to stop. And there's nothing done about that. There's no conversation. There's nothing leading to that. And so a couple of my friends and I, we started like packaging like little like safety kits for the prostitutes on Aurora, and just like going out at 9 p.m. to about like 1 in the morning, and just just being with the prostitutes, and just hearing their stories, hearing why they do what they do. I remember an individual, she shared like a spoken word like poet with us, and it's like a lot of people don't just go out their way to like make like hand warmers in the cold for these women who are in these just harsh circumstances, and it's just such a greater need on Aurora that needs to be dealt with, that's not really talked about, but just more just looked over.
Wait, man, you got to tell us a story or something.
Yeah, so there's I remember a girl, she needed to make like 3,000 that night.
What?
$3,000, yeah. Or
$3,000 in a night.
in a night. And if she didn't get that money, like she was gonna get abused. She was gonna get beat up for it. And so she's, just walking in heels, short dress, and it's cold. Like this is in like February, so it's cold outside, like under 40 degrees, without a jacket, and they're just walking up and down hours at a time on Aurora. And like just hearing that story, just like I don't have the money to give you $3,000, so you maybe to just go on for the next day. Maybe that person probably was gonna be like, okay, now you need to make $6,000. I don't know if she's even alive to this day, but like that was like a very, very crazy story that I couldn't believe. And
What are the ages of these people?
it ranges from high school, like freshmen in high school, so
What?
14-year-old girls walking down Aurora to about like 30, mid-30s.
So a 14-year-old girl would be walking around selling her body
Yeah.
to an adult.
Yes.
In any other circumstance, that would be statutory rape.
Yes.
But, and these men know, do they tell them their age?
That usually the girls, like if a 14-year-old girl told you she was 14, like you'd probably be like, oh, like no. But
Right.
if she says she's 18, it's like, okay, this is game.
Right.
And so pretty sure some of the girls lie. And a girl had told me like she would lie about her age so that way she's able to earn money so that she's able to give to her pimp.
What do you mean by that?
So like a lot of the girls, like they have to make like a certain quota or a certain
Mhm.
amount of money, and they give that certain amount of money to their pimp. And the pimp is the one who, protects them, keeps them safe, but also like is also the abuser. And so I had conversations with the pimps as well. No harm was done to me. And
Was it scary?
it was a little frightening, but I just felt like a sense of peace. Like my friends, I just felt like a sense of peace. Like something was being done about this, whether it was so small as just bringing like the packets or just even having conversations with them. Like something was actually like being done about it.
And are the pimps what we see on TV? The flamboyant hat, the flamboyant clothing.
Some were, but some would just be like, a construction worker or even like
Wait, what?
Yeah, some would be even like just like your regular average guy.
Really?
And like you would just never know, like, oh, like he's over there pimping this 14-year-old girl.
And are these 14-year-old girls continuing on with school during the day and then
And some
prostituting at night?
Yeah, and so it makes me think about like how many girls did I see in the hallway when I was at Ballard? Like
Right.
they were selling their bodies like at night, and the reason why they're not getting their homework done is because they're out, being prostitutes.
What conversation did you have with any of these prostitutes that informed you as to why they're going down that road? Especially at such a young age.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't have a mentor. They didn't have somebody, a positive role model in their life. They didn't have somebody who saw them with like positive eyes.
Mm.
It was more like, I can make money from this girl. Let me, convince her that she's doing something good so that way I can earn some money from her. Yeah, I think that's the big one, was they didn't have that positive role model. And so a lot of the prostitutes would tell us their fake name. And when they felt like comfortable and be like, oh, like, I can really like trust this person. This person is not out to spend money on me or to have sex with me or to, pimp me out. They would tell us their real name. And that, like, we felt like once they told us their real name, we earned a sense of level of trust.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you don't see any of these women now?
No. So this is like a one and done thing. Like, okay, I planted my seed and like hopefully like they get out of this circumstance. But sometimes it does take that like one interaction to like keep like start a ball rolling.
And you never felt like unsafe. You're walking the streets from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m.
I felt like I felt like a lot of people try to like instill like, are you afraid about getting shot? Like they try to bring up the like worst possible outcome. And it was just like, no, like I don't worry about that. Like I worry about these girls rather than my own life. And this experience, like even though it may seem so small, it may have like a big impact for these women. And so I could say confidently like I wasn't afraid.
Even when you're like talking to their pimp and a pimp is there to make money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter how the money's made. If it's $3,000 that night, I want my money.
Yeah.
If you're coming in here and spreading a different message than what this pimp has told his prostitute, how is that not a conflict of interest?
Well, like if you're like, say a car came up, and this has happened many times, like a car will pull up and we're talking to the women and the guy wants the girl, but we're talking to the women. So she just missed out whatever amount of money that would have been. Right. And so like if we like kept doing that, the pimp would be like, you need to stop talking to my girl. She's working right now. And a lot of the girls were in fear of that too. They would remind us like, hey, like, like my pimp's over there. Like he's watching, like you can walk and talk with me, but like I still have to work. And so we would like, I mean, what more can we do? Like, we don't want this girl getting hurt and, our safety is in jeopardy as well. So like we did with the girl, we just walked with her while just talking to her and, and it's sad because we saw a lot of the girls just get in the car and like, we don't want them to get in the car. And so it's very hard just seeing that.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. So you would walk and talk with these women as they were working.
Yeah.
And they would remind you, hey, my pimp is watching me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want you to get in trouble.
Yeah.
Let's continue this conversation, but let's walk this way.
Yeah.
So what would happen in the middle of a conversation? And would you ever watch these girls just get in this car and then drive off?
Yeah.
How would that feel?
It's so, you feel like there's nothing you can do. Like you have no, like, not necessarily like we were controlling these women, but like you feel like, you just had this really good conversation with this girl, but yet like she's still in her circumstance. And it's just hard to watch. Like if I had a daughter and, I saw my daughter doing that, like that's just like, as a father, like I can't imagine like the pain of that. And so it's just like, you just feel just stuck and just so like heartbroken and just so uneasy. And you feel like a failure too.
And these aren't even your blood related
No.
people.
No. And it goes back to like what you said in the beginning, like, we could judge these girls all we want, or we could profile them all they want as just prostitutes. We give them this label and like, that's it. And we just label them. But like, we're not getting to hear their story, and we heard them stories, and stories are heartbreaking. We don't want that for them. I don't want that for anybody. And so, and then for them to just go in the car and, got to do what they got to do. It's just sad. It's super sad to see.
Did you ever successfully remove one from that style of living?
I would like to say we did, but like we don't know. Like we lost contact. I had a friend who worked at like a lash place, and she wanted to get her lashes and her hair done, and they met up and stuff like that, and she did the lashes and the hair and stuff like that, and they kept in contact for a little bit, and then just out of nowhere they stopped keeping in contact. And so we don't know if she potentially got out of it, or is she still in it. And so
why do you care so much about all these other people that are this? Some may choose the life that they want, as far as like maybe the gang stuff.
Yeah.
Some may be forced into the life that they want.
Yeah.
Maybe that could be the prostitution stuff. Some may just be born into the life, right? Which may be your situation.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that it's your job to help everybody around you?
I feel like I'm a helper, man. Like I hate to see people struggle, and I know like struggle sometimes can be, good. Like when we're working out, like it's okay to struggle. It's okay to like try to get that set, even though you can't do it. Like it's okay to push yourself. Like nobody deserves to be in a circumstance that they didn't want to be in. Like I didn't ask to be homeless. Like I didn't ask to, catch a bus 2 hours every day back and forth to school to a place.
But you had choices, right? You had choices to not do it. You had choices to fail out. You had choices while being homeless to commit crime. And you chose not to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So think about that. Think about all the other opportunities. They may not have been good opportunities that were right in front of you, all the temptation.
Yeah.
While sitting on this bus and it's 8:00 at night, you just got done with a track meet, or you had to stay late at school, or you even actually missed the bus.
Yeah.
And at the bare minimum, you're going to get back to your place by 10 p.m.
Yeah.
Knowing that you have 6 hours that you got to get back up and do this all over again.
Yeah.
I don't know how many people in my life that would have that type of strength.
Yeah.
Temptation is so addictive to people, especially if the temptation is an easy way out.
Yeah.
So like, you're sitting on this bus, you've had a bad day.
Yeah.
People, whether they're students, teachers, they've profiled you.
Yeah.
Maybe you just got into an argument with the person that you were involved with, that you liked or cared for.
Yeah.
And now you're back on this bus.
Yeah.
What conversation are you having with yourself to build you up, to get up and be willing to do this all over again every day?
So me being black as it is, like we're already labeled, right? And there's so many statistics and so many like just data and just so much like research on, black men. And I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want to be in that percentile where by the age of 21, I'm going to be dead. I didn't want to be in the statistic where by the age of 16, I'm going to be in a gang. Because I have a single mom, I'm more likely to like commit a murder or to rob or to steal, right? And so like I just was thinking those thoughts, and that was enough to be like, okay, like I can get through this. I can get through this. I don't want to be a statistic. I don't want somebody narrating my life and thinking they know it all because I fit every single, not achievement, but like every single
Category.
category
Yeah.
as a black man
I know
or a
this
black teenager.
right. I know this conversation. It makes a lot of people uncomfortable.
Mm.
There's something to say about being black, and more so being black in America,
Mm-hmm.
where every single day someone is going to test you one way or the other,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's to get a rise out of you, whether it's racially profiling you, whether it's jumping to a conclusion, or you being that false statistic that they want you to be.
Yeah.
And you're sitting on this bus for a 2-hour ride, and these thoughts are going through your head.
Mm-hmm.
And then you graduate high school.
Mm-hmm.
And within graduating high school, you're going back to the streets.
Yep.
To make it so other people are fighting their statistic.
Yep.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I can't. I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I'm trying to get it as to why a person that has so much childhood trauma and so many difficult obstacles in their life, why would you put yourself in danger to help this young teenage girl that's being sold into sexual activities for another individual's benefit?
Yeah.
Or why are you sitting at a hospital watching this dude lose control of his bowels because the decision from someone else was to purposely try to either injure this kid or kill this kid?
Yeah.
And then here comes Vaughan, right?
Mm-hmm.
The light at the end of the tunnel. I'm here with you. We're going to fight this. The girl's feeling a certain way. Vaughan shows up at 2:00 in the morning. I'm here with you. We're going to fight this. Why? I'm still trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
Why have you made that your job?
And I feel like it's not a job. Like it's just it's something we humans need to do that. Like if we see somebody in need, we shouldn't point at them and laugh and be like, oh, like they're homeless. Like look at them, look how they're living. Like we shouldn't be like that. We should be helpful. We should be caring. And if we have something, that we're able to give, why not give it? Like if we have, we go to a barbecue and we have leftover food, why are we gonna throw all this, leftover food where there's somebody next door that needs it, that needs food, that needs substance, right?
I remember when you were a junior in high school, we were working out, and I could tell that there were a few people that needed some extra attention in our training group while you were at Ballard High School.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did was I made it so you guys all had to bring journals. And secretly, I can tell you now, secretly, it was just for me to make sure that all of my athletes that were in my training group were all taken care of under any circumstance. And that was one place that, with that pen and paper, that you can be 100% honest.
Yeah.
I noticed something. For weeks, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you just had cereal and 2% milk.
Yep.
What was that about?
I couldn't afford it. Like I was living with my dad at the time, and we don't have a strong relationship. And so he's alcoholic, so he wouldn't cook for me. And so, and being a high school, homeless teenager, like you don't have a job, you don't have money to, spend on stuff. So the money that I did get, like, it was going towards cereal. Cereal's $2.50 at Walmart, and so you just buy a box of that and some milk, and it goes a long way. And I ate that so consistently because that was the only thing I could eat. And there was days where I would just, I would go to Target before school and just buy a 99-cent banana, and that would last me all day until I went home and ate some cereal.
Man, that breaks my heart, bruh. And it's like, again, all these people at that school that were profiling you, all the teachers that told you weren't going to graduate, had no idea that you're at home at 15 or 16, taking care of yourself, figuring it out, right?
Yeah.
this goes beyond race.
Yeah.
It goes beyond, it's bigger than that.
Yeah.
Because earlier you said you felt like you were never being heard,
Yeah.
but yet you were screaming at the top of your lungs like somebody just listen.
Yeah.
And because everybody else is all in their own world, people never chose to hear your cry out for help.
Yeah.
But you never were the kid to get in fights at school to get suspended.
Right.
You were never the disrespectful student.
Yeah.
You had all these things pointing against you. And every single day you managed to turn that negative into a positive.
Yeah.
So you were able to get into a college.
Mm-hmm.
You're able to run track at a college and go to nationals. And you said you were the first person in your family to achieve that goal.
Yeah.
So what that says to me is you've broken your generational norm
Yeah.
of what success should look like.
Yeah.
Because now you've just upped it one.
Right.
That has to feel good. That has to feel good to you.
Mm-hmm.
That has to let you know that through the toughest and darkest of times in your life, that you're still going to shine.
Yeah.
I think what you're noticing, that you know what it's like to be on the other side of that pillow.
Yeah.
You know what it's like not to have food when you're at these barbecues and you see these people throwing this food away. I deal with some of that myself. You know, growing up as a kid, you know, we struggle with that. Now they call it food insecurity.
Yeah.
As an adult, it makes my stomach turn if I look in my refrigerator and don't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I look in the cabinets and I feel like they're bare.
Yeah.
It does something to me. It like chemically,
Yeah.
I'm all over the place. Do you feel that?
I feel that. Yeah.
It's hard to articulate that and get somebody else that's never been in that situation to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Like all the fresh produce and things like that, I was never able to get as a kid because they go bad so quick.
Yeah.
But as an adult, looking back, I couldn't survive off of cereal and milk.
Mm.
And I couldn't operate the way that you operated at the level that you were operating,
Yeah.
with that being the meal that you could afford.
Yeah.
There's resources at high schools
Yeah.
that can help out with food insecurities. Did they never tell you anything?
Never. And I always had like a custodian, and I can't remember his name, but he would always like give me like $5. And I know you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to give kids money. As a teacher, you're not supposed to give kids money. But like, he broke that, barrier because he saw this kid in need. He saw this kid that, didn't have nutrition. He was hungry. He was basically starving. It's like, man, go get you something to eat. And so like with like the food resources, like I was never told about that stuff.
That's tough because with the Seattle Public Schools, I've sat in on these meetings about how to get the students that need help with the food insecurities, these resources.
Yeah.
And they pride themselves on being available. But it's weird that you went to that high school for 2 years and never, ever heard any of it.
No.
We're going to be right back. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break. Yeah, it's just so different that they never were to tell you that these were available.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Vaughan, like knowing you at 14 and 15 and then seeing you now as an adult, like, do you realize and understand how far you've come? Like when you really sit back and think about it.
Yes and no. And I say that because like I try not to dwell so much into the past and into the negative. Like I'm not a negative person, right? And with the health book counseling and, therapy, like you learn how to deal with like the trauma, or at least like it's never going to be fully healed, but you're learning how to, think more about it. Think like how, when it comes up, like when a situation like comes up, you learn how to handle it better. And so,
how do you know how to do this by yourself?
It's
You're
just
so young.
It's just I'm not gonna be corny and say like Nike, just do it, but like you kind of just do it. You take it one day at a time.
How did you know you needed therapy?
Well, in our community, like being Black, like we're never told to like go seek counseling, go seek therapy. We only are told that if you're crazy or if you're psycho. Only crazy people go and seek counseling and therapy. And so, like, when you go actively seek it yourself, like, it's a whole different like help. And I strongly encourage you, like, if you have that urge to go seek counseling and therapy, like, go do it. If someone's telling you to go do it, and you should do it. It'll make you a better human and make you a better man or woman. And when you do have kids, like, it's gonna make your family like so much better. And I wish like my family would have done counseling and therapy when I was with them.
Do you? So you have brothers, right?
Yeah.
You said you have brothers. What's the relationship with them?
My oldest brother, really, really close with. He teaches me about like financial literacy, stuff like that. Other two brothers, I have a little one and another older brother. They smoke weed, spend lots of money on the weed and stuff like that. And they're not really hardworking and driven. They're kind of just like stuck in their own ways.
In the generational thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Taking after my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
You had a brother that played basketball in college.
Yes.
Is he still doing his thing?
No, so now he has a family and he's doing his thing. My little brother also played basketball in college, and like, he had opportunity handed out to him, given. And like, I see my little brother not as a twin, but like somebody who's been like given so much opportunity, so much, just so much things for him to go and prosper. But like, he throws it all away by doing just shit. And whereas for me, like, I always had to work hard. I had to work and strive for my excellence or my success. And so he played basketball in college and was kicked off the team because had a gun in his dorm. And it's just like, man, like, why for the homies, like, you're going to sacrifice all your, what you've earned and what you've been given to for, this gun or trying to be cool. Like,
Was it his gun?
No.
Okay. And he just never told.
Never told.
So he got removed from college.
Him and other players.
To protect another player.
Yeah.
Wow. How long ago was that?
This is last year.
So with all the school shootings,
Yep.
everything that's going on in the school,
They're not thinking about that.
they're not thinking about that.
Young adults, like college age, like, they think they're on top of the world. They think they're the smartest kids. They think they know everything, but yet they don't.
Brings a gun to a college. There's no gang members in college anymore, man. There's no thugs in college.
No. So what are you protecting yourself from?
What are you protecting yourself from? I don't understand. So somebody on the team brings a gun. I'm assuming the coach caught wind of it, asked who it was.
Quickly.
And nobody knows what to say.
Nope.
Did the coach address the entire team, or did he address certain individuals?
The entire team.
And still nobody spoke up.
Nobody spoke up. So whoever was involved in that situation, booted off. Gone.
Overnight.
Scholarships, gone. Kicked out of school.
There's a common theme of this episode, which is weird. And the common theme is, at least to me, this is what I picked up on. In a snap of a finger, your life can change.
Yeah.
Immediately, for the better or for the worse. Talked about a kid that was involved in gangs that got shot and will never walk again.
Yeah.
You talked about young women that were prostituting, and you don't know if those individuals are still alive to this day.
Yeah.
You talk about young basketball players that overnight have lost everything that they've worked for the past 18 or 19 years to get there.
Yeah.
And then you mention the adversity that you've gone through and managed to come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Think about this world that we live in. Think about all the gun violence that's been in the schools in just the past 2 or 3 years, or even this year alone.
Yeah.
Someone as close as your brother has been involved in that.
Yeah.
Think about these 14-year-old kids that are walking up and down the street from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Yeah.
Their fear doesn't lie with being mugged. Their fear doesn't lie with being raped, kidnapped, anything. Their fear lies with how their pimp is gonna hit them.
Yeah.
I'm 36 years old, and I will not be walking up and down the street at 9 or 1 o'clock in the morning because there's nothing good out at that time, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing good out at that time. How numb do you have to be to not feel the urge of fear doing that? Or how much trauma has gone on in your life to the point where like you have to result of the protection of a gang? Or what type of things have gone on in your life to make it so that 2-hour bus ride every single day isn't that bad?
Yeah.
Or what things have gone on in your life to wake up one day and be like, I'm going to go to nationals. Yeah. Everything that's ever been thrown in my face, all the people that told me no, I'm not going to walk up to them and be like, I told you so.
Right.
They're just going to read about it.
Yeah.
You've done some amazing things, and yet you're so young. And I want to sit here and tell you like, Vaughan, you're on your way. But I feel like you know that. And I feel like without you even understanding your end goal, the path that you're on is the path that you're supposed to be on. Mm-hmm. I was told by a coach in my career that it wouldn't be put on your plate if someone didn't think that you were able to take care of it. So you're in situations that most people wouldn't even dream of. You're dealing with things that most people would be completely, utterly overwhelmed with.
Yeah.
And you show up every single day.
Yeah.
There's something about you that's different. I know a lot of people are like, oh no, I'm different, but there's actually something about you that's different. And like, you have like, you radiate this like aura of peace. Which leads me to this next question.
Yeah.
Have you ever come up against somebody who just doesn't like you?
All the time.
What? How and why?
But and it takes there's a level of patience with that. Like there's some kids that were some really hard kids that just didn't like me. But over time, like just me just showing up constantly, just being there, like a simple, hey, how are you doing, man? Don't fucking talk to me. Try again tomorrow. Yo, man, like you had a rough day yesterday. You straight? Man, I told you not to fucking talking to me. Right? And that doing that a long period of time gets the kid to be like, oh man, like I'm gonna tell him how I really feel. Yeah, there's many people like I come across that don't like me. But you know what? Like at the end of the day, like I'm still gonna treat you like a human. Like I'm not gonna treat you any lesser than that.
Because do you do that because you know it's not about you?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a selfless thing. Like I'm loving you selfishly, but it's selfless, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Perfect. That's the best quote I've heard all day. Man, this is about to get deep. Are you happy?
Yes. I can say for a fact that I'm happy. There's been days where, I'm not so happy and I'm sad and I'm mad, but I can regulate those feelings. I can regulate, like, I'm not having a good day. Not everybody's going to be happy, joy, lucky every 24 hours a day. That's just not realistic. Like there's days where I'm not happy. There's days where I'm depressed. There's days where I have no excitement. I was telling my homegirl, Melanie, that like I don't have a sense of like excitement anymore. Like I did paragliding last week, went to Vegas. Like I'm doing all these things, but like I'm not feeling that sense of like joy or excitement.
Why is that?
Like, and I feel like it's with like the people you hang around with. Like it does, like the company that you keep, that really like plays into effect. The friends that you hang out with, like, and I don't really hang out with too many people. And so like with that, like, and just being in like that solitude and, feeling like alone, like I kind of like learned how to love myself in like just being by myself, because I was with so many people, like with you, like the track team, it's always with like a team or just with people. But then once like that pulled away, it's like, oh, how do I handle myself? Oh, like I rode the bus by myself before, like just be okay, like it's okay. And not being okay is okay as well. And so just like reiterating that to myself has maybe like like extreme like happy individual.
Man, what would be, if you were to look back on your life, if you know what you know now and know who you are now, what would you tell your 14 and 15-year-old self going through those tougher times in your young life? What would you tell yourself?
First, I would give myself a hug because I didn't get that, like especially from a man, like that connection or that not necessarily like physical touch, but that sort of love,
Mhm.
especially from like a black man. Like I never really got that. Um, and like look into my eyes and say that this is only a moment.
It's not forever.
Not forever.
In the black community, you think that fathers, do you think that the presence of a father is extremely underrated?
Super. Like you just being there for your kid. Like even at a basketball game, like I didn't have people coming to my track meets, and I didn't realize how much of a thing that was until like I told like my mom to like come and watch me. She said she would be there, and then she's not there, and that mentally like messes me up. Like I didn't
Mhm.
run a good race that race, and so like you just being there, like even as a father for your son or your daughter, like that goes a long way.
The weird thing about these conversations that I get to have with people, doesn't matter the age, doesn't matter the gender, there's always a different perspective to life. And you look at somebody, and it's easy to judge,
Yeah.
right? You never know what someone else is going through.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like at 14, some of the things that I had to deal with, it would have been easier for me to quit. Not just that situation, but quit like life and quit on myself.
Yeah.
Even going into college, it was rough. And then hearing you talk and putting your pressures, your stresses, the things that you have to fight against on the back burner to help complete strangers. You know how intimidating and how scary it would be for a random person to approach a pimp,
Mm-hmm.
or for a random person to approach a gang member and fight them with love and passion, despite what they may want to do to you?
Yeah.
Man, I don't have words. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. What would you tell somebody that is going through a rough patch? Doesn't matter if they're black, white, male, female, doesn't matter. But an individual is going through a rough patch, and all of a sudden they see you walking down the street. What do you do? What's the next move for this individual that feels like they have nobody?
Let me hear it.
Just like that.
Just tell me, like, what's on your mind? Like, just tell me. Like, let me hear it. Like, let me sit in your pain with you. Like, let me sit in your mess with you. Let me get dirty with you, right? Because you feel dirty when you share like all this experiences and stuff like that. You feel messy, and you feel like ugly, and you don't want nobody to like participate, or they are too clean for me, so I can't be with them. I can't be around them. And like as a peaceful person as myself, like I want to get dirty with you. I want to get messy with you. So just let me hear it. Like, and us sitting down has done so much, for me. And just knowing you all these years, like we could chop it up like this and talk. And so like talking, like and just hearing somebody out and not just giving them advice, but just like just sitting there, just being like, I don't have answers for people. Like I don't have an answer to that question, but it's just like, let me hear your story. Like, let me hear who you are about, and, your why. And if you don't have a why, like, how come? What's the reason? Just tell me.
No judgment, no nothing.
No judgment. Sitting there with just eyes like you're just a human, like you, like myself.
That's deep. Anything else you'd like to say to the viewers out there?
Man, just check on people. Like, if you do have a conversation with somebody, make sure you're able to try to understand where they're coming from. Hear first before you speak. You're not always right. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. I don't want to say love somebody like how you want to be loved, because that's kind of unfair. But like,
why is it unfair?
You hold like a certain expectation for somebody. So if they don't feel that, certain expectations. Like I'm loving you. Like say like I brought you coffee and donuts every day, right? At some point, I'm gonna feel that you should bring me coffee and donuts because I do for you every day. And so I'm building this unrealistic, like, I guess, thought in my head that one day you're gonna bring me coffee and donuts. Where you're thinking like, oh, he's doing it for me just because he knows I like coffee and donuts. So I appreciate it, but I don't know if he wants that. Like it just builds this unrealistic thing. So that's why I say that. But like just see somebody that just with love instead of like judgment and hate and profiling. Like it literally gets you nowhere.
I guess the underlining message for me is within a snap of a finger, your life can change. Not only your life, but you can affect the life of people around you, whether you care for them or not. Sitting with Vaughan has brought back so many euphoric moments of my life and things that I could have been better at, things that I should have paid more attention to, and just me taking accountability for certain things that have gone on in my life and the life that people were having around me. So like Vaughan said, check in on your people, man. And you're not always right. Listen before you talk. We'll see you guys next time.